World War II is a story we think we know well. We have heard about the famous battles, we have learned about the great leaders. But there is another side to this global conflict. It is a hidden history, full of secrets and strange tales. These stories were kept quiet for many years. They involve spies, they involve fake armies, they involve animal soldiers. These were not small things, they were clever plans. They were brave actions that changed the course of the war. They show us that history is often more surprising than we can imagine. It is a world of shadows and whispers where the most unbelievable stories are often the truest. This hidden war was fought with guns and tanks. It was also fought with ideas and tricks. It was a battle of wits. The people involved were not always famous generals. They were artists, they were scientists, they were ordinary men and women. These people did extraordinary things. They used their creativity to fool the enemy. They risked everything to give their side an advantage. Their stories were locked away, classified as top secret for decades. Join me as we pull back the curtain on some of the war's most astonishing and well-kept secrets. One of the most creative secrets of the war was an American unit called the Ghost Army. This was not an army that fought with bullets, it fought with illusions. Their official name was the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. It was made up of about 1,100 men. Many of them were artists, designers, sound engineers. Their mission was simple but incredibly dangerous. They had to pretend to be a massive American force of up to 30,000 soldiers. First, they had visual deception. Inflatable rubber tanks, cannons, jeeps from the air or from a distance. These fake vehicles looked completely real. The artists in the unit would even create fake tracks on the ground to make it seem like the tanks had moved. Second, they used sonic deception. The sound engineers in the unit had powerful speakers mounted on trucks, troops on the move tanks, rumbling soldiers building bridges. They could make a quiet French valley sound like an entire armored division was preparing for an attack. Finally, they used what was called spoof radio. This involved creating fake radio traffic. Radio operators from the Ghost Army would mimic the communication styles of real military units. They knew German intelligence was listening in, so they fed them a steady stream of misinformation. The Ghost Army performed more than 20 battlefield deceptions. These artists and engineers saved thousands of lives by tricking the enemy into looking the wrong way. Not all heroes of World War II were human. One of the most beloved and unusual soldiers was a Syrian brown bear named Wojtek. His story begins in 1942. A group of Polish soldiers who had been released from Soviet prison camps were making their way through Iran. There they came across a young boy who had found an orphaned bear cub. The soldiers took pity on the small animal. They bought the cub, named him Wojtek, and raised him as one of their own. He quickly became the unofficial mascot of the 22nd Artillery Supply Company of the Polish Second Corps. Wojtek grew up among the soldiers. He was not treated like a pet but like a comrade. He would drink milk from an old vodka bottle. Later he developed a taste for beer, which he would drink straight from the bottle. He also enjoyed smoking, or rather, eating cigarettes. He would wrestle with the soldiers and learn to salute when greeted. He traveled with the unit through Iraq, Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. He was a source of great morale for men who had lost their homes and families. In a time of great darkness and suffering, the friendly bear brought laughter and a sense of normalcy to the soldiers' lives. When the Polish forces were preparing to fight in the Italian campaign, there was a problem. The British authorities would not allow a bear onto the transport ship. To solve this, the Polish soldiers officially enlisted Wojtek into the army. He was given the rank of private, a serial number, and a paybook. He was now an official soldier. This allowed him to travel with his unit to Italy. During the fierce Battle of Monte Cassino, Wojtek proved he was more than just a mascot. He would stand on his hind legs and carry the 100-pound crates of ammunition to the guns. He never dropped a single one. During the war, Allied scientists worked on many strange and secret weapons. One of the most bizarre ideas was the bat bomb. The plan was developed by a dentist from Pennsylvania named Little S. Adams. He was inspired after a visit to Carlsbad Caverns, home to millions of bats. He thought tiny incendiary bombs attached to bats could be used to burn down Japanese cities. Bats naturally roost in dark corners of buildings. If thousands were released over a city at dawn, they'd fly into buildings to hide from daylight. The plan was taken seriously by the US military. President Roosevelt approved the project, Project X-ray. They believed it could work against Japanese cities largely built of wood and paper. Scientists made a tiny napalm bomb weighing less than an ounce. It had a timer to ignite after a set period. The idea? Pack over 1,000 bats into a special canister. The canister would be dropped from a bomber at high altitude. A parachute would slow descent at 1,000 feet. The canister would open and release the bats. Tests were conducted but plagued with problems. At one New Mexico airbase test, armed bats escaped. They roosted in nearby hangars and buildings. Shortly after, their tiny bombs detonated and the airbase burned down. The incident proved the idea could work. Perhaps too well. The project was complicated and slow to develop. Controlling bats was difficult. Keeping them dormant needed complex refrigeration. The bat bomb was cancelled in 1944. Meanwhile, the atomic bomb showed more promise. The military refocused on the atomic bomb instead. The bat bomber plan never saw combat. It's a strange footnote in the history of warfare. In the Soviet Union, a group of brave female pilots struck fear into the hearts of German soldiers. They were the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. The Germans gave them a terrifying nickname, the Nachthexen, or Night Witches. These women flew outdated and very basic biplanes. Their planes were made of plywood and canvas. They were essentially crop duster planes repurposed for war. They had no armor, no radios, no parachutes for much of the war. They were slow and vulnerable, but the women turned weakness into strength. The Night Witches flew only at night. Their slow planes could fly very low, making them hard for fighters to spot. Their most famous tactic: idle the engine on approach. The planes would glide almost silently. German soldiers heard only a soft whooshing. It sounded like a witch's broom sweeping the sky. Then, moments later, bombs rained down. The psychological effect was devastating. Soldiers stayed awake and terrified all night. The women were skilled and relentless. The regiment flew over 24,000 combat missions. They dropped more than 23,000 tons of bombs. They flew in freezing winters and in thick fog. Their planes carried only 2 bombs at a time. Crews might fly 8 or more missions per night. By war's end, the 588th was one of the most decorated units. 30 pilots were named heroes of the Soviet Union. In 1943, the Allies were planning to invade Sicily. This was a crucial step to push into Europe, but they needed to trick the Germans into thinking the invasion would happen somewhere else. This led to one of the most brilliant and ghoulish deception plans of the entire war: Operation Mincemeat. The idea was hatched by 2 British intelligence officers, Ewan Montague, Charles Cholmondeley. Their plan was to use a dead body, dressed as a British officer, to carry fake secret documents to the enemy. The first step was to find a suitable body. They found the body of a man named Glyndwr Michael, a homeless man who had died in London. They created a fake identity for him: Captain Acting Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. They gave him a complete backstory. They put personal items in his pockets, including a photo of his fiancée, a stern letter from his bank manager. The centerpiece of the deception was a briefcase chained to his wrist. Inside were fake official letters between 2 British generals which discussed plans to invade Greece. On April 30, 1943, a British submarine surfaced off the coast of Spain. The body of Major Martin was gently placed in the water, where the currents would carry it to shore. The body was found by a fisherman. The Spanish authorities did indeed share the contents of the briefcase with German intelligence. The fake documents were sent all the way to Hitler himself. He was completely convinced that they were real. Operation Mincemeat saved thousands of Allied lives and shortened the war, all thanks to a dead man who never was. The hidden stories of World War II are more than just interesting trivia. They show us a different side of human ingenuity and resilience. The Ghost Army's creative deceptions, Wojtek the Bear's loyal service, the Night Witch's silent terror, all demonstrate that victory in war is not just about brute force. It is also about psychology, creativity, and the will to try the unexpected. These secrets had a direct impact on the outcome of battles and the length of the war. They saved lives, confused the enemy, provided a crucial edge when it was needed most. They remind us that history is made by real people, with all their cleverness and quirks. The legacy of these secrets continues to affect our world today. The tactics of the Ghost Army laid the groundwork for modern psychological operations in information warfare. The idea of unconventional weapons, like the bat bomb, shows how far scientists pushed boundaries. The atomic age was born from the same crucible of secret wartime science. The stories of individual bravery, like the Night Witches, left a lasting mark. They paved the way for future generations of women in combat roles. Similarly, the tale of Operation Mincemeat is a masterclass in intelligence and counter-espionage. It is still studied worldwide as a perfect example of planting misinformation. As we live in a complex world, these stories offer important lessons. They teach us about the power of ideas and they honor unsung heroes whose contributions were hidden for too long. The official history is only part of the story. The secret war's strange, brilliant tales give a deeper understanding of the conflict. Its echoes are still with us, reminding us the truth is often hidden just beneath the surface.